Okay, so as discussed on my last update, my next project is going to be this, the new Kinetic Models IAI Kefir C2/7. I did a brief review of it on my last update. It's a very nice model. I'm really looking forward to this. It's been a long wait for a nice decent model of the Kefir. So I'm going to be adding a few things to this model. Nothing extensive really. I've got a set of ISRA decals here for which covers export and foreign Kefirs. Particularly the one I'll be doing is an Ecuadorian aircraft in two-tone green camouflage. Other additions I'll be making are that I've got a Master Models pitot probe, which I'll be using in place of the kit one. Some removed for-flight tags from Eduard there. I'm planning to, hopefully, if everything goes to plan, I'll be putting this model on a little base with some removed for-flight tags and that kind of thing on it. So there's those two. Actually, there's another spare pitot there that I've got, which I'll put to one side for my next Mirage or Kefir. A couple of references here. There's the ISRA decal Kefir book, and there's also the IAF Aircraft Series Kefir book. So there's a couple of Kefir references I've got there. Obviously, I've got a selection of photographs and stuff on the internet. So that's the next project for me. So hopefully there'll be some regular updates, and I can keep your interest up. I'm just going to have a quick look. These do concentrate almost exclusively on the Israeli Kefirs. One thing I was interested in was whether export Kefirs or the Ecuadorian C2s had early or late style ejector seats, and looking at pictures it seems that they all had that they retained the early style. I think it's a Mark 7 ejector seat, so that's the one I'll be using. So a couple of other things I've decided. This model I'm going to be using the small supersonic fuel tanks, and I'll be having a pair of Python 3s on the wingtips, and that at this point is the only weapons I plan to have on the model. So in the first stages, what I'm going to do is get instructions out, and I'll be doing things like I'll be building up the seat and the interior. So as I said, in the initial stages I'm just going to be building some small sub-assemblies. I'll make reference to any problems I had with those basic sub-assemblies when I see you next time. So that's it for now. I'll see you when we're ready to do some painting and stuff, and for now I'm just going to get on and build any sub-assemblies. Okay, so we're on to the interior now. I've been building, as we've been going, I've been building a few of the sub-assemblies. Like here you can see the wings. One of the things that's struck me while I've been building some of the sub-assemblies is that whilst the model is very nicely moulded, if there's anywhere that there's going to be a butt, like a sharp butt joint, sort of along the leading edges of these wings here, something like that, there's a very fine burr along all of these parts. It's like a very fine raised edge of flash. It's not huge and it's no problem to deal with, but it really does need removing, or it will interfere with fit and will cause the model to fit badly where it shouldn't. So when that
check your parts. When you come across something like that, it's really the work of you know, a second, okay, to use a sharp knife, and that's literally all I'm talking about doing, is just deburring all of these edges where stuff joins. And as you can see on stuff like the wings here, which have been glued together earlier, it helps fit no end. So that's one of the first things I've noticed about the model as I've been going. Now, this is going to be, for the most part, apart from things like the decals and the pitot and things like that, this is going to be more or less straight from the box, this model. So what I've done is I've cut out all the main cockpit parts. The seat I've started to deal with there, and all the other parts for the interior I've cut out, and I'm just clamping into things here, ready to spray. I had assumed that the Kefir's interior was black like Mirage's are. Looking at reference, I was wrong, and these interiors are actually a light grey with black details. Now, bear with me, I'm just looking for a... Okay, people tend to get a little bit hung up about interior colours, but to be fair, I think when you're doing an interior, you're going to be using lots of washes and detailing. So I'm just happy to go with more or less a random light grey. Quite often I use XF53 neutral grey for interiors of stuff like US aircraft. It's not actually neutral grey. It's got a reasonable blue tint, which I think matches the real colour quite well. In this instance, what I'm going to use is XF83 from Tamiya. That's their medium RAF medium sea grey. As I say, it's not worth losing too much sleep over. This pot's almost finished, so I'm just adding some Mr. Colour Leveling Thinner to thin it back a little bit. Now, under normal circumstances, I would add a little bit of clear to the Tamiya to make it semi-gloss. This, being their neutral grey, is a semi-gloss colour anyway, so I don't need to do that. So I've got a reasonably thick mixture. Just checking for flow. I'm happy with that. So I'm just quickly running across the interior parts here. Something else I noticed while I was spraying some of the things like the interior of the air intakes earlier is that the model does have a kind of mould release oil or similar on it, which caused some beading up even of the lacquer paint I was using. So it's a model that is worth cleaning the parts off, degreasing the parts before you go, either wash them in detergent or degrease them as you go. I've been degreasing these by using a brush with some Mr. Colour Thinner on it, working it into the parts, and then drying it off with cotton buds as I go, just for these small parts. The entire model will receive a good wash before I actually go to paint it. This is the main cockpit tub here. I've added the rear bulkhead. There's a couple more parts to add, but they've got to be painted a different colour, so I'll keep them separate and add them later. So it's literally just hitting it from all angles and making sure you get a good base coat on your cockpit tub. same with the instrument panel. And finally, that's the joystick, which I've cleaned up as well. So I'm just going to give that a light spray of the grey. And that's the interior parts, the main interior parts painted. So the next time I see those interior parts, what we'll be doing is looking at adding things like a wash and highlighting some of the detail and things like that. So I'm just going to clean the brush out here. So with the interior dry, the initial base coat of paint, what I want to do is add a wash just to the basic grey before I start to pick out the detail. Now I've got all sorts of different washes and filters and stuff from the likes of AK, but I still find that for washes and stuff on interiors, I still prefer to use oil paints and mix my own washes. So what I'm going to be mixing here is a kind of dark brown grey wash, for which I'll be using a dab of Payne's grey, which gives a really dark grey, slightly blue tinted colour, and then a dab of raw umber, which I find is good for this kind of wash because it's dark brown without being too red. So I've just got some enamel thinner that I'm just going to add and give it a so that's all I'm looking for, is a small amount of this kind of dark grey brown wash. Pick a suitable brush, just because I want to actually some of my brushes need a little bit of so I just picked a suitable brush, a reasonably small brush like that, and then it's just a case of loading my loading the paintbrush up and just running the wash along the detail as it exists on the interior here. Remember, your base coat, or the base coat that I've used here, is acrylic, so if there's any problems, I can, without too much trouble, clean all this oil paint off and start again. Now most of this stuff on the side consoles here is going to be over painted, but it just helps me to see exactly what detail there is on there. So and then finally, just going to give the instrument panel a good wash. The instrument panel looks quite vaguely moulded on the model. It's not one of the best instrument panels ever. I've just run a quick wash into it, and I hope you can see it's really it's highlighted a lot of that very nicely, so it doesn't actually look as vague with a wash on it, which I'm very happy about because it's going to help me painting. I'm just going to run a bit of this mixture into the none of this is really going to show on the finished model, but just dirtying up the cockpit sides there. Now, whilst I've got this mix out, one of the other things I sprayed yesterday, Kefir wheel bays were white. So what I've done is, whilst these wheel bays, the nose wheel bay was unassembled, I've sprayed it with Gianotti's white lacquer, and I'm just going to apply a wash into here to highlight all the detail prior to doing some further work in the next few stages. So I hope you can see how that's been picked out. The main bays on the wings here, I can't really do anything with until they're assembled, because there's a part of the wing root which forms part of the bay. So I need to do that as an all-in-one assembly later. You know, for all the enamel washes and stuff that are available now from the likes of MIG and you know, AK Interactive and people like that, still, in my opinion, nothing quite beats oil paint for controllability and flow. So I've just given that an overall wash, and I'm just using a dry brush here to go round and remove the excess. I won't be coming back to this until tomorrow at some point, so that'll give the oil enough time to dry, far enough for me to carry on with the detailing and painting of the interior. I have to say the wheel bays are very nicely done. That's the wrong brush. So as I said, there's those done as well. So I'll leave them essentially overnight to dry off before going back tomorrow. Okay, so continuing with the interior, all the parts here. As you can see, the wash that I'd applied has set. That's actually had well over a day to dry now, because I've been doing other things to the model. And what I want to do now is start picking out the areas that need to be black on the model. So I'll just have a quick look in the Kefir book here at the walk around, just to help me. So the majority of these show that the majority of the side panels have to be black, and there's certain panels on the actual instrument panel itself that has to be black. I'm going to be trying a new product to do the black. It's satin black from AK Interactive, which I just got this week, and is apparently good for brushing and airbrushing. So we're going to try, for the side consoles here, we're going to try and hand brush them. So there's just a little dab of it on there. It's really quite thin. The idea of this is apparently that you should be able to use it through the airbrush without thinning, but also brush paint it. So I'm just going to check how well it. Now my plan here is there's certain bands down the side consoles which have to remain grey. I'm just going to paint the consoles entirely black over the entire area that needs to be black, and then we'll go back and use a wash to hopefully restore any grey bands that are needed. I have to say this, as a first brush, this AK Interactive Satin Black, it is very thin, but it's also quite dense and appears to be brushing on very nicely indeed. So there's one console done. Let's do the other one now. So there's those side consoles done. We'll let them dry, and then we'll look at picking out any of the other detail we need. There's a couple of small boxes that go behind the seat. I have to say I'm painting this satin black over bare plastic, and yeah, I'm getting a bit of beading occurring, probably as much because of the mold release agent as anything. So that's not working, so over bare plastic, probably best not to use that. So onto the joystick. Okay, so there's a joystick painted. Now we go on to I've got the instrument panel here, and quite a lot of it needs to remain grey according to the book, but certainly the large up-front controller, the bit that shall we say goes immediately above the heads-up display, that appears to be all black. And so that's the initial stages of the instrument panel done. Again, I'll look at adding a grey wash to that, as I'm going to do with the side consoles here. And that satin black really is drying really beautifully satin. Very happy with that. But like I say, it appears it's not so good over bare plastic. You really need to be priming. The areas are primed, the paint's gone on very nicely indeed, and the areas where I haven't primed, it's immediately beaded up. So I'm just going to clean that off, which should also have the added benefit of degreasing it. Okay, so I appreciate that there's some of the more eagle-eyed amongst you might pick up some continuity errors, or not continuity errors as such, but just some the actual build flipping about a bit. I'm trying to keep everything to do with any given subject in one place, so as I'm building it out of sequence, the continuity might look a little bit off at some points. So here we are. This is intended to be the last piece for the interior video. And as you can see, I've got the fuselage halves together, I've got the nose on, the intakes are on. Now, all I've done since the last video is I've added a thick wash of Abteilung ABT 100 faded grey to the consoles and instrument panel. When that's dry, I gave it a dry brush with Tamiya XF53 neutral grey with a little dab of slow dry blending medium from Liquitex, just to allow me to dry brush it easier. And that is literally where I am with the interior. The interior was then put into the model, and the fuselage halves were joined along with the nose bay. So that's where we are with that. There's a little bit more that I will add to the interior, but I'll cover that when I get there later in the build. So what I want to do now is just get on with the actual general assembly of the model.